Hello, everyone. We are live. My name's Tony. This is Karen Chavez, and this is Lorraine Rhodes from Dogtopia. The holidays are a rather popular time to gift new puppies, so we invited Merck Animal Health to join us for this Facebook Live today to answer some common puppy questions. And I wanted to let each of them give a little intro so you know who you were talking to today. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Karen Chavez. I am with Merck Animal Health. I'm a territory manager based out of Phoenix, Arizona. I do a lot of client training and education.
Nice.
Excellent. And I've been on before. I'm Lorraine Rhodes. I'm an environmental biologist. I've been with Dogtopia for 3 years now, watching this company grow. I focus on health and safety and keeping our stores infectious disease free, answering a lot of questions for you guys out there. So I'm excited to be with Karen and Tony again. This will be wonderful.
Puppies are always a good topic. So we have some nice questions to answer for you guys for all new pet parents, or even if you're adding a new puppy to your family. If we aren't able to answer your question, feel free to comment and we'll do our best to respond back to you, or visit our website. We have a whole Ask the Expert section you can find and submit questions that way. But we'll go ahead and get started. You guys ready?
Yes.
All right. So are there any recommendations you have on choosing a new puppy in terms of like the size of your home or the yard, maybe an apartment versus a house, even shedding, that kind of thing?
It's important to plan for a puppy soon becoming an adult, because most dogs are puppies for only 7% of their lives. Bigger homes with sizable yards are more suitable for bigger dogs, and pet owners who live in apartments usually should consider a smaller breed. There are breeds that shed less hair and dander, so people that have allergies, you might want to Google hypoallergenic dog breeds. Be aware though that some breeds require more energy and exercise than others. So consider your lifestyle, the amount of time that you reliably can spend with your pet whenever you're choosing a pet.
It's all very important, right?
Definitely. Plan ahead.
Absolutely.
I like that idea.
And then in terms of when you bring a puppy home, are there any supplies that you should have right away? Anything that you recommend there?
Of course. A dog leash and properly fitted collar are essential. Food and water bowls that belong just to your new pet. Make sure that they're large enough to supply what it needs as an adult at full grown size. Toys are common, probably not essential. Most dogs do play well with just 1 or 2 toys. We all know somebody that has dozens or more, me included. Durable plastic toys are great because dogs usually can't chew them to bits. And all toys must be large enough not to be a choking hazard. Your pet's own bed and crate to sleep in are really ideal as well, but we'll go into that a little bit more later.
Okay. And then this is an important question in terms of vaccinations. So when do puppies need their first vaccines?
So the experts recommend starting 6 to 8 weeks of age. It's very important that owners understand that puppies must be boosted every 3 to 4 weeks. It is recommended by the American Animal Hospital Association that puppy vaccination boosters continue until they reach 16 to 20 weeks of age.
Okay.
You should keep your puppy as isolated as possible from unknown dogs, sick dogs, public parks, and all dog droppings until 2 weeks after the boosters are finished, because puppies are still able to get sick during this time frame.
So like even taking them on a walk, you have to be very careful.
Yeah, keep them isolated.
Okay. And then what vaccines should they get? And are there any others that you recommend? Are there some that are required? Are there that are highly encouraged?
The distemper, hepatitis, and parvovirus are the big ones.
Okay.
That comes in a combined single shot that often includes vaccines for other diseases in that combination that are important. Everyone who knows about vaccination agrees that this preparation must be given and properly boosted, as we discussed, as a bare minimum to keep your puppy safe. Rabies must be given as it's required by the US and Canadian governments. The Bordetella vaccine is another one which offers protection from one of the causes from canine cough that is often alarming. It's also important for puppies who begin to socialize with other dogs. You'll want to get that Bordetella in. Communities all over the US and Canada are also reporting canine influenza and leptospirosis. So that is another consideration. It might be great to add to your puppy's care plan. North America is big. It covers a lot of area. where certain regions may have diseases and other regions may have different ones. So talk to your veterinarian about which other vaccines are appropriate for your pet's lifestyle and geographical travel region, as we travel a lot.
Yes,
too.
definitely.
Yeah, excellent. So when it comes to puppies coming to Dogtopia, I think it's really important to remember that they're going to need to have that vaccine up to date as much as possible. We like to see at least 2 boosters of that distemper hepatitis parvo kind of combination vaccine at a minimum. We also must require that the rabies vaccine is given. That protects other dogs, your dog. It also protects our staff, things like that, because rabies, unfortunately, is still a problem in some areas. And also the Bordetella vaccine. So once those are up to date and your puppy has been given a clean bill of health, then they're welcome to come for their evaluation and begin that socialization.
All right. Thanks, Lorraine. We just wanted to see if anyone's been commenting. Yes, they have. Hi, Shelley.
Good morning.
And Dogtopia, Sarah, we're at the Dogtopia head office in Phoenix, Arizona. So thank you. Great question. And thanks for tuning in. Let's see.
Okay, so I have a question. Yes. Tell me about microchipping. I think they're pretty important. How do you feel?
Yes, a microchip's the only form of permanent identification for your pet. If a pet is lost and 1 out of 3 pets go missing during their lifetime,
That's a lot.
only 20% of dogs and 2% of cats are reunited with their pet owners.
Oh, wow.
Collars can slip off, they can be removed, they're not permanent. So without identification, the majority of pets won't make it home. We don't know who to call. A microchip increases the chance of a lost pet to return and be reunited with its pet owners. That fact alone makes it really important, but on top of that, all over the world, if you look on media, social media, everything, you'll see that pets have been returned to their owners, and it's all thanks to microchips.
Yeah.
So the microchip itself is only 1/2 of the process. Make sure that you're registering that microchip, and make sure, kind of like when you change your gas bill and your electric, whenever you move, you want to update your microchip registration information if you change your phone number, address, or email address, just so that the microchip company knows who to contact when your pet's lost to be found.
And you can always go to like a pet store, right? Or a veterinarian's office.
Go to the veterinarian.
Okay. So get that scanned if you do happen to find a lost pet.
Yep. And shelters, that's what the first thing that they're going to be looking for is a microchip.
Okay. Great info. Make sure to do that. I know we talked a lot about vaccines.
Yeah.
Talk about
So another question.
Yeah.
Puppies sometimes need to be dewormed. Is that true?
Yes.
Do you think that's necessary?
Absolutely.
Where do they
For
come
many
from?
years, yeah, I know. There's a lot of questions around worms. For many years, the CDC has recommended that all puppies get treated for roundworms because these worms can be dangerous to children. Puppies can actually be born with roundworms in their bodies at a larval state that then grow and advance. So have your veterinarian treat your puppy as soon as you get it. The other types of worms that there are other types that can infect your puppy, and some even just parasites that aren't worms that can infect your puppy as well. So you may want to take your puppy a stool sample to the veterinarian to be tested and see what else your puppy will want to be protected from. Some parasites come from droppings from other dogs. Some can be obtained from swollen fleas, contaminated water, eating or chewing, again, dead animals. Heartworms also come from mosquito bites.
Oh.
So there's a lot of different ways that we need to prevent and a lot of different parasites that we need to be concerned about. Different parasites need different medications to get rid of them, and that's why it's important to have that stool sample early on. Also, as pets are such an intimate part of our life. I mean, I love my pets. I hug them, I kiss them. I think I greet them before I greet my husband.
It's very
so it is essential that even with that monthly dewormer or that heartworm medication that be given, because there are, for example, roundworms and hookworms that can be passed to people. And you want to make sure that you're ridding of those on a regular basis so that it's not an exposure to you all as well.
Yes. I had no idea that it could transfer to humans.
Yeah, it's kind of
even
scary.
more of a reason.
Don't Google that.
Especially for children.
Do not recommend.
Do not Google those images.
And then in terms of flea and tick, is there a certain age that should start? Is it safe for puppies to receive, Can you go into
That's a great
that
question. So control is necessary if these parasites are present or prevalent in your area. The life cycle of fleas and ticks is aggressive. And so getting it under control if an infestation occurs is essential, but prevention is really the best way.
Okay.
Most of the products are safe for puppies, and the label will say what age they can begin. It's best to talk with your veterinarian about this and choose the best flea or tick medication for your pet. They come in a lot of different options. You can get them in a treat form, in a collar form, in a topical form, in a tablet form. And they can extend from 4 weeks all the way to 8 months. And so your veterinarian will be able to make you more aware of what they recommend based off of your pet and your pet's exposure.
Okay.
But do be aware that fleas and ticks aren't just gross and carry disease. They do carry diseases, not just for your dogs and cats and pets, but also for people. So keep them away is pretty important.
Sure.
Another reason. And then this is probably a really popular question in terms of, once you do have a puppy at home, do you have any recommendations for crate training and how to go about that?
Absolutely. Most pet owners, especially when they get a new puppy, they think crate training is like putting their dog in a jail cell. But if it's not used as a punishment, it should be fine. The pet regards it kind of as their own personal space and a safe place. And so it's a good thing. Crate trained dogs travel especially well in their own familiar crates. Choose a crate size, though, that the dog can stand up in and can comfortably turn around.
Okay.
And so that way they're not crunched in. I do see sometimes the teeny tiny dogs in the huge crates, and that would be fine as well. But start by placing your puppy in the crate and leave them there in the room for just a little bit, very short periods of time. Return. When you do return, give them a treat, praise them, make it a good thing. So even if they didn't love it when they were alone, you want them to think it's a good thing.
Positive.
Very positive reinforcement on that. And then just extend that time period out for how long they're being alone in that crate. The best crate trained dogs are made to sleep in it at night, so then it becomes their normal place. But many crate trained dogs will spend time in their crate even when they're not required, once they get to know it and understand it.
Feel safe and secure.
Exactly.
Excellent.
And they make it their little home. They'll go in there and just relax.
It's like their den.
Yeah. Everyone needs that.
Okay, that's excellent information.
And then this is a tough one. I know. I think I gave my dog a bath too early, and now he's not a fan of water. But when should you give your puppy their first bath?
It depends. This is one of those questions that we get a lot in the veterinary community. You bathe the puppy when it's necessary. If the puppy comes, especially from a shelter, or if it comes from a situation and it's really dirty, then you bathe it. But you just want to make sure that it gets dry and warm quickly. If your puppy smells bad, a bath would probably be good for him. It'll be good for you because you'll want to socialize with it a little bit more. It's important, like I said, to keep it warm and dry, and then use shampoos and conditioners that are labeled for puppy use. A lot of people think, I can use a baby shampoo. Using any shampoo or conditioner for humans has a different pH level. And so it kind of can cause a skin irritation.
Okay.
It's better for the puppy's skin if they use something that's for them. Regular scheduled baths for puppies, just to give them a bath, like don't say, I'm going to give you one every Wednesday. You don't want to do that. If it's not necessary, you want to just keep them warm, and especially this time of year when it's cold outside.
Yes.
You
Cold
want
and
to keep
dry.
them.
You can really overdo it.
I know.
Yeah.
As far as scaring the dog, one practice that I've done with my own pets, I've taken my own dog into the shower and just held them close so then they feel safe.
Okay.
So there's different ways to do it if it's yours and you're in your private home versus here at Dogtopia. You can't do that.
He was like that.
But I think it's just making them feel secure,
Yes.
and it's a good thing. And then keep that temperature even on the water nice and warm.
Okay.
For them.
It's tough. Not all dogs like water.
They don't, just like people.
Yeah. And then in terms of other firsts, so we talked about giving them their first bath and vaccines. What about introducing them to showing them off to friends and family, or bringing them around to other social gatherings? When do you recommend starting that
Absolutely.
process?
So the first 1 to 3 weeks, it's kind of stressful. So they're learning a new home, new people, maybe other pets. Everything has changed in their lives. For that time period, you kind of want to keep them isolated and let them just kind of settle in. After 2 or 3 weeks, you can gradually bring people in. Avoid fast-moving children or loud noises or anything that might scare them, because you want them to continue to get more and more comfortable in their environment and feel safe. But let them meet a couple of friends at a time and just have them sit down on the floor and introduce.
Calm, comforting environment.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Do you have any other recommendations for the best way to start socializing them? Does it matter how old they are in terms of
Yes.
comfort?
You mean with other pets?
Yes.
Yes. So once the initial stress period's over, so during that first 1 to 3 weeks, I wouldn't even bring in another pet unless it's in the household.
Okay.
Once that initial stress period's over, gradually bring in dogs and puppies. Make sure they're fully vaccinated, you know who they are, and you know that they get along with other pets. You don't want to have that introduction and a big accident on the first one, or your puppy may not like other puppies.
Okay.
Always supervise the visits in case they don't get along. Don't force them together. I know I see people and they'll both be holding a puppy and they walk up and make them show their faces. Don't force a dog.
Okay.
Just kind of like when you don't force people, we don't want to force meeting somebody. Same thing with your pet. Also remember that we'd rather keep puppies isolated and protected while they're during that going through that vaccination booster period. So kind of protect the environment that you are socializing them in. And then again, it's good to socialize them early, but make sure that they're with pets that are vaccinated, that have a healthy bill of health, or good bill of health. Sorry about that. And
No, it's true.
and it's also consider behavioral training school, because any dog that behaves well, it's going to be happier because it knows what to expect from its owners.
Yes, definitely. Well-trained dog is a happier dog.
And
Once they're through their vaccine period and kind of through that more dangerous time frame in their life where they're a little more vulnerable to those germs, they're welcome to come to Dogtopia, where they can learn and grow and continue to socialize with other dogs that are social. So then they start to learn all those good things with our trained staff. So
Social dogs are happy dogs.
that's for
They
sure.
are. And you'll be happier too as a pet parent.
Yes.
You won't feel less nervous. There's less anxiety from both you and the
Yes.
puppy.
Less bad behaviors at home,
Totally.
less, energy.
And
all
nobody
that.
wants that puppy that lunges at the other dogs or is
Oh,
aggressive. And so early socialization, it is important. Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Do you have any other recommendations in terms of what else you should expose your puppy to?
There's a lot that you should expose your puppy to. But again, make sure that it's in that contained environment while they're really young. One of the great things you can do is play with the puppy's feet, play with their ears, their teeth.
Okay.
These are grooming behaviors that later in life you'll want the dog to be used to. That's just touching, basically touching and exposing them to that regularly, so that when they get their nails clipped or they get their teeth cleaned when we're brushing,
They're more comfortable.
Yeah, they're more comfortable with it later in life. Also, leashes. Everybody says, I'm going to take my dog on its first walk. And it never goes well. And so I think we've all attested to that. We've all tried it. Stick a leash, just clip it on your dog or your puppy when it's just walking around the house. Let it drag it along. It's going to chew it. It's going to become disgusting, and you're probably going to throw out that leash eventually. But it'll get used to it. And then over time, you can gently begin to direct the puppy with it and guide them. Never drag a dog or a puppy by its neck. We don't want them to fear that leash and that collar. We want them to respect it. And then it also is great for recall later. So when you call your puppy, you can gently pull them and then reward them when they come to you. And so you can teach them to come. Getting puppies also are used to riding in a vehicle. That's another big one, I think. Everybody's taken their dog to the vet, and they have either the dog that's like, "Wah!" or they have the dog like, this is great, and is super excited. We want that great, we want the dog to be excited about getting in the car and be happy. So getting them into that car early. You can put them in their crate, so that way it's not a danger to you when you're driving. Even if you're just going around the block first couple times, but later on, even if you don't travel a lot with your pet, just getting to vet visits and out to be social, it is a benefit. Start with gentle, like I said, gentle short rides. You may actually want to put a towel in there because sometimes dogs have motion sickness.
I've experienced that.
Yeah. But eventually and gradually you'll be able to make those rides longer, and it'll be a normal thing for your puppy. The other thing, one last thing, just a kind of a reminder, it's not so much an exposure, but maybe it's something not to expose your pet to. As people that get large dog breeds, they pick them up and they love them and they sit on their lap and they're jumping. Remember that those dogs are getting bigger. So as those grow and become large dogs, it's not as fun for that dog to sit on your lap and not as fun for that dog to jump and knock you down. So maybe don't expose them to that. And then they'll get, if they get used to that, you'll kind of regret it for years. So
especially if you have children or even elderly grandparents that come and visit, teaching manners, I can imagine it's really important. Manners are important. Okay, so that's great information. I love that. Definitely lots of important things to expose your puppy to. So we are a busy family, and there's lots of times where I feel like we're not home that often, and I have always kind of felt a little worried about getting a puppy because I thought, how long could you really leave them safely at home? And, without causing too much concern for the puppy and for the guilt you have as a pet parent. What are your recommendations?
Well, the older they are and more accustomed they are to their home, the longer they can go with being alone. Potty breaks are essential for young puppies. They'll have to go more often, even if they have excellent discipline. It's just they're little till about 6 months, and then they gain bladder and bowel control. If you can limit those times under 4 hours at first with puppies, it makes it a little bit easier. You can always extend out to 7 or 8 hours as they mature into adult dogs. Busy working couples, they either have somebody come over and let the puppy out for a break. I do that even myself. I have a couple people that I call just to stop by if I know it's going to be a long day for me, and let my brood of dachshunds out. But it's for young puppies, consider also that you may have to have puppy pads just to kind of get them through so that you can be gone during the day. Crated puppies do well for reasonably short periods, but again, if they start having accidents, they can get used to a messy crate, and that can become a disaster for you as far as training as well. Yes. Doggy doors are an option, but make sure that there's not wildlife danger in the area. That's another concern kind of for us. I know being in the desert, coyotes, bobcats in my case. And so it's
bobcats too. Yes.
Always never want to let, especially a small dog out into those environments.
Absolutely. So I can imagine that daycare is probably a good idea. If you're a busy working family, and taking your dog to Dogtopia would be a good idea. And then I think that that's a great place for them to kind of get further educated in those social cues from other socialized dogs, and also work with our trained canine coaches. They even play games and do things like hula hoops and bacon bubbles.
Oh, fun.
So as soon as that puppy is through that vaccine time frame and is ready to come and visit, then we would love to have them at Dogtopia.
They'll love it.
Okay, so let's talk about nutrition. What do you think about puppy nutrition?
It's very important that puppies eat food that's made for puppies. Oftentimes people feed from the table. They think that it's fun, the puppy will love them more. I actually have a husband that does this. We call him Disneyland Dad because everything goes when I'm not there. But they need the extra nutrition that you'll get in a good commercial puppy food. And so at first, they can eat 3 or 4 meals a day. You're going to want to kind of, as they mature into adults, you're going to want to bring that back into larger meals, but fewer meals.
Okay.
Puppy foods are made with all the nutritions, though, that they need for properly balanced and properly balanced proportions and for their diet. Adding table scraps, like I said, and supplements can throw off that balance a lot. So just making that puppy's diet less healthy, and then also it's just important to stick with that diet. Also, avoid changing foods for variety. We have a lot of people that do that, and they're like, "Oh, my dog's bored with its food." Many puppies and even mature adults will get diarrhea from it, stomach illness. So don't do that. The only last note kind of is, if you're taking a puppy out for potty breaks, If you do it after they eat, usually they will need to go then. It can kind of be their cue as the urge comes on. May make it easier for puppy training as well for them on that.
Makes sense.
Very important.
Goes
Yes.
in, must come out.
Yes. Always.
We have a few questions that came in. Hi, Sarah. Oh, Dogtopia of Downers Grove. Yes. Kira is wondering, how often should a puppy go to the vet? Do you have any recommendation? Obviously, right when you get the puppy, they should have a vet visit.
Yes. Right when you get the puppy, you're going to want to take it in for a vet visit. Additionally, as we talked about with that vaccine series, you're going to be going in about every 2 to 3 weeks, more or less, for those vaccinations. In addition to that, once they become an adult, you're probably going to go out till 18, 20 weeks. So you're going to see your vet regularly. Once you get to an adult, you can go in about every 6 months to 12 months. You'll want to make sure that you're getting regular checkups. What we often forget, and this is something that I have to remind myself, I have an 18-year-old dachshund.
Wow.
And so we think, we're like, oh my goodness, 18 years. Well, part of it is, the average dog in human years, a large dog, it can be from 5 to 7 years, really, is there compared to one of our years. So when you start adding that up, we go to our doctor usually every year for an annual physical, but technically they're going every 5 to 7 years. So you don't want to miss. If you think about it, if you do every 6 months, then it's about every 3 years. So you don't want to miss just going in for the annual physical, because if you miss something with their life advancing so much quicker than ours, it could be too late or something. So make sure you're going in. And again, your veterinarian, if there's something wrong or something going on, your veterinarian can recommend specific treatment for your pet.
And then this question, thank you, Kira, that was a very helpful question. Michelle is wondering, I'm about to travel cross country with my 7-month-old pup. Any tips for it to not be stressful?
So as we mentioned,
She's
out.
driving or flying, did she say?
That is a good question.
That is a good question. Either way.
Either way, get your puppy used to a carrier. You want to, whether it's in a plane or in a car, that vibration, if you set it on the floor in your front seat, that vibration they'll get used to. It's similar to the vibration in a plane. So if they're comfortable in that carrier, the more comfortable that dog is in that carrier, the more comfortable you will be. Also talk to your veterinarian. There's some ways to just kind of sedate the animal and make it a little bit more comfortable for them during that travel. So a couple of steps on that, but definitely don't put it in the carrier for the first time on that trip, or it might be a disaster.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you, Karen and Lorraine, for joining us today. We're all excited for you to get your new puppies this holiday season. If there is a question that we didn't answer or something comes up later, feel free to visit our website, dogtopia.com. We have a whole Ask the Expert section where you can go in and submit a question, and we're happy to answer for you. But thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Thanks.